good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We are here to chop it up and get the weekly check-in with Lisa Durden, who is a political pop culture commentator and critic. You can catch her every Friday on
Chasing News. If you're in New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia area, you can get it on Channel 9 at 11 p.m. or Fox 5 at 1 a.m. But if you're around the world, it's online at chasingnews.com.
Where she rips up everybody in the building. And her TV husband.
You can't handle the truth. Okay. We know that famous line from that movie, my fave. He's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, so thank you so much, because I know right now during these uncertain times, there's a lot going on. I want to ask again, how's Papa Durden?
But he's doing okay. He just seemed to fully recover. I don't go in his apartment because I don't know how the Ronas works. I don't know if you're, now not contagious. Did he fully recover? Physically, he's okay. But do you not have the Ronas anymore? Was he tested again? I don't know the dirty, so I ain't in it. But he's still talking and living. The Black man has 9 lives.
All right. Okay, that's good to hear. For those of you, if this is your first time tuning in, Lisa Durden's father, Mr. Durden, was diagnosed with COVID-19, has since recovered, and we're going to get his story very soon. But I always want to check in on Pops, and I'm glad that he is still alive and kicking and drinking his brown liquor, whatever his brown juice is. It's brown. Okay, that brown liquor.
And he smokes reefer, so.
And it's medical cannabis.
Well, he ain't smoking no damn medical cannabis. He smokes reefer. When I say that online, people go, "Miss, it's not reefer, it's called weed." I'm like, we called it reefer in the 80s. I say it to make y'all laugh, so y'all know my age.
No, that's right. And you look good for your age.
Thank you.
So let's get into it. You are in Newark, New Jersey. Currently, since the last week we spoke, there has been a mushroom of protests and demonstrations since the last time we spoke, all throughout the United States. As well, there's been an uptick of police aggression and agitation in some areas, but the numbers keep going. I know that there was also demonstrations or rallies, as you said you prefer to call them, in Newark, New Jersey. What is the sentiment in terms of, are these protests, are they effective? Are they making a change? What are you seeing?
There's been a whole lot of debate amongst, just voices in general, but the most disappointing debate is amongst Black people. I've been hearing a lot of Blacks, not all, I'm only talking about that segment of population who is talking about do it right, you're doing it the wrong way, and hey sis, hey bruh, don't be violent. It's an interesting thing how we're still kowtowing to white supremacy. It's interesting how we still give a damn what they think about us. It's interesting how they're talking about how we're violent when this country is violent. I hope you play this video that Tamika Mallory did about a week ago. She's the one that's one of the founders of the Women's March. And she talked about a little bit about it.
In Minnesota, are saying to people in New York, to people in California, to people in Memphis, to people all across this nation, enough is enough. Yeah. And we are not responsible for the mental illness that has been inflicted upon our people by the American government, institutions, and those people who are in positions of power. I don't give a damn if they burn down Target, because Target should be on the streets with us, calling for the justice that our people deserve. Where was AutoZone at the time when Philando Castile was shot in a car, which is what they actually represent? Where were they? So if you are not coming to the people's defense, then don't challenge us when young people and other people who are frustrated and instigated by the people you pay. You are paying instigators to be among our people out there throwing rocks, breaking windows, and burning down buildings. And So young people are responding to that. They are enraged, and there's an easy way to stop it. Arrest the cops. Charge the cops. Charge all the cops. Not just some of them, not just here in Minneapolis. Charge them in every city across America where our people are being murdered. Charge them everywhere. That's the bottom line. Charge the cops. Do your job. Do what you say this country is supposed to be about, the land of the free for all. It has not been free for black people, and we are tired. Don't talk to us about looting. Y'all are the looters. America has looted black people. America looted the Native Americans when they first came here. So looting is what you do. We learned it from you. We learned violence from you. We learned violence from you. The violence was what we learned from you. So if you want us to do better, then damn it, you do better.
Here's my thing. It's interesting how people who declare war on you, but want to also pick your weapon. So you declare war on me, and then you want to also tell me what weapon to bring. Where do you do that? When you declare war on me, I bring a bomb to put up your ass and pull the clip. You don't tell me we're going to have a fight. You wage war on me. I'm minding my business. You choke me out. You shoot me in my house when nobody's around. And my boyfriend goes to jail for protecting my household, and he has a legal gun. You shoot me while I'm jogging in the park. You call the cops on me and lie on me while I'm bird watching. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so those are wars that you're waging, and obvious wars. And then when we got tired of being sick and tired, you want to turn around. When I say you, the media, white America, racist white America, want to turn on and call us violent in any way. There was never anything going on in those protests that were violent, because it was spurred by the violence that you put upon Black people, people with Black skin, Black and brown people, but I'm gonna say Black people in particular. Now, do I think that it's a great idea to fight fire with fire? Absolutely. For all y'all Bible-toting mofos, ain't it in the Bible? But I know. You don't mean us. Is that what it is? Fight fire with fire. See, that Bible is a funny book. Either you believe it in totality or you don't. Now, don't tell us about, but be peaceful. How can you be peaceful when you have no peace? That's why the protesters say no justice, then there's going to be no peace. But what's interesting is we weren't even tearing stuff up and burning stuff down. We were actually, as one would say, peacefully protesting. It was those professional agitators, the white supremacists coming to these spaces and places around the country, with all Black on, like they were SWAT teams and masks, and they had backpacks in the front, like they didn't look like regular protesters, and they were the ones Molotov cocktailing police cars, and they were the ones that burned up the bombed up the Target over there in Minnesota, and they're doing all these things, the looting and all that. Now, of course, you get a tiny smidgen of people once the white supremacists who tried to act like it was Black Lives Matter to send the message that we were violent. Once they busted open the store and tore stuff up, then I guess a few Black people did walk in and get some TVs. But I mean, where's our 40 acres and a mule? See, if you gave me the 40 acres and a mule, I wouldn't be taking a TV. Because I can do a lot with 40 acres right now, and I can sell a damn mule.
And I think I think it was really interesting how when that became at one point, a couple of days, maybe two solid days, mainstream media in particular were saying, the people that are, disrupting or are doing this are white nationalists and white supremacists that are coming in. And the response was people who actually were protesting were then videotaping them, signaling them out to shift the narrative, because in some ways it kind of implied, in my opinion, these protesters really don't know what they're doing and they really don't know what they're about. And so you have these agitators that can sway them to loot. You
Right.
know, all they have to do is just break a glass and then 3,000 people come in. But what we saw were people actually saying, stop that. I'm about to beat your ass. Get out of you know, there. I saw one where a woman stopped the car with the
Yep.
brick, you
Yep.
know, stop leaving bricks. So this has been a very interesting time.
Mhm. Yeah, there were interesting pallets of bricks just showing up in cities around the country, like Newark, I think Camden. Don't get me too long about the cities. You look it up online. Where Black folks getting pallets of bricks, A, and B, during coronavirus.
And be broke during the coronavirus too.
And see, if I had money, I wouldn't buy a pallet of bricks. So all of the above tells you, and wrong answer, you got problems. So in other words, but in however, what has angered me is that we, with this skin color, get on TV, you know, the TIs of the world and the Killer Mikes, and some of these people get on TV talking about, but don't do it that way. Stop. You know, now again, we were peaceful, but even if we were not the ones who were peaceful and we were tearing stuff up and we were burning stuff down, which of course we were not, but even if we were the ones doing it, what do you mean peaceful protests? Because when Martin Luther King peacefully protested, they still killed him, didn't they? When they had that peaceful march across the bridge, where was that again? Montgomery, what was that bridge you went across?
Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Yeah.
When the first time they went, they shot them all up, and they came and did another time. They were locked in arms, walking across, and they had on suits. They looked presentable. You know, back in the day, we didn't wear Timbs and stuff back then. We had on suits and dresses. You know, our Sunday best. You know, that's how Black folks did it. Sunday best, not best, best, BES. They still shot us up and killed us. We had to run in the other direction. We marched down in Montgomery. They still hosed us and put dogs on us and spit on us. So what do you mean? You know, Colin Kaepernick took a knee in total silence and total peace, and you still fired him. What do you mean peaceful? So again, there's no real way to make an enemy happy. They're going to scream when you retaliate, and it should hurt. Retaliation shouldn't feel good. It's not a walk in the park. I'm retaliating. Have you not gotten that? Oh, I know the nerve of us to retaliate. That's all I'm saying. That's some the whole conversation is white supremacy, the white supremacist mindset. Like, you can do stuff and I can't. For it, just simply to protect ourselves. You bomb stuff for no reason. Y'all are at the Capitol in Virginia with machine guns and AK-47s spitting in during the coronavirus, no mask, and spitting in cops' faces for, you want to go to the mall? I mean, that was your reason to be that angry with guns, because y'all can't go to the mall and you got to stay in the house?
Yeah, it really showed, in my opinion, the political immaturity of the mainstream. You know, that we
Correct.
place so much value in attempting to please or to assimilate to. You know, so I want to stay in this vein of the protest, because historically, not since the 1960s has there been these many civil unrest, rebellions, uprisings, protests, demonstrations. You have the whole gamut going on through cities, towns, all across the United States. But particularly, let's go to Washington, D.C.,
Yes.
to the bunker bitch. Hashtag
The bunker bitch. Did you call the pumpkin face man the bunker bitch? I mean, this man has such a host of aliases that we attach to him. It's just too funny.
Well, they had, yeah. So I thought that I cried when I saw that hashtag. But
Yeah.
so specifically in Washington, D.C., there were protests, as there has been since the Trump administration began, in front of the White House. But what Trump did is enact military police and local police force to basically extinguish and evacuate the protesters.
And he paired the local police with the National Guard.
Oh, so he did use the military.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so he did. Okay. So the military and the local police used them in order to move the crowd and through violence and aggression, so he could walk across the street and take a photo in front of a Catholic church that he had never attended before. And I don't even think he is Catholic, but anyway, But as a result of that, oh, and then in that night of back and forth between the protesters and the police, there was this tactic that they do where they corral the protesters with a series of tear gas and pushing and push them into a neighborhood. And in response, the people in the houses opened up their doors and allowed people to come in. And in particular, there is one man who is being lauded as allowing, I think it was like over 100 people to stay in his house for several hours or until the next day before they let him in. So, but that is not a new thing. That actually is let me see. How do I want to say this? That actually is an old tactic
white people, right? White people have been, not all, the ones who are not racist, have been assisting and being allies for us for years. When we had the Underground Railroad, it would not have been successful if there were whites who did not hide us in their homes and basements and give us food along the way on the trip. So you've always had those allies from the beginning.
And also, what I think is also dope is that the man who did it was I think it was Southeast Asian, if I'm for sure, Southeast Asian. I get his name. But there were white people who also opened the doors, and I think that was really critical because there's been a very interesting conversation around what non-white people of color or what non-Black people of color need to be doing during this time of Black Lives Matter.
I mean, this whole race thing is really making my brain bleed. Non-white, but Black color.
I had to.
But I'm sort of kind of brown, but I'm not really Black, but I'm gold. Like what? Black people. I'm certainly not going to tell.
This is your check-in. This is your check-in. We're gonna say keep it Black. Well, the brother looked Black to me, but this is your check-in. But I think that was really so I think that was a narrative that we know. Even Angela Davis talks about when the police were chasing the Black Panthers and LAPD in a Black part of Los Angeles, Black people opened up their doors and let them in. So that is a tactic which, if you don't protest, that's fine. People play many different parts in this, but just do something and stay active. But I wanted to bring up, as a result of that, the ACLU is suing Trump for using police in order to clear the area so he could go and take a photo op.
And the Black Lives Matter.
Oh yeah, and Black Lives Matter.
BLM hashtag Black Lives Matter. Yeah, so the ACLU and the Black Lives Matter. I think also a couple of other, but those are the main two organizations, are suing Donald Trump for violating their civil rights. What's interesting is, this thing called the Constitution. Donald Trump loves to call people thugs, typically Black people, because that's what he really is. You know how they say it takes one to know one? This pumpkin-faced man is the leader of the free world, and he violates protesters' First Amendment right under the United States Constitution, which states Congress shall make no law restricting or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peaceably assemble. Here's where he got all that twisted. You can't make a law or some kind of thing saying we are doing a curfew now in the vein of stopping me from protesting. Now, if you want to say we have a curfew to make things safer in general, because Newark has a 10 p.m. curfew if you're under the age of 16. I forgot the actual statute, but something along those lines, for the safety of all. No, they don't enforce it, but they have it on the books. So if there was a curfew in place just because it's there, then that's different than doing it specifically to impede what that First Amendment says, which is you can't create laws to abridge these other things, to abridge my freedom of speech, to abridge my right to peaceably assemble. That's where he got it all twisted. And you know what? I think this time he's going to get taken down. Oh yeah, they're going to win because it's right. It's clear. It's clear. Now, are they going to actually get into a courtroom? Are they going to settle? I mean, I don't know how this all unfolds. I doubt they're going to get into a courtroom with him. But certainly the lawsuit has now been waged and it's going down. And let me tell you something. The ACLU is big and they're powerful and they bite like pit bulls. It's going down. They had these people out there. And here's what it was. You know, they're claiming, you know, Trump and them, you know who they is, are saying, that was a guy in Soul Food Junkies, one of the characters, he said, you know who they is, was saying that, oh, all we wanted them to do was move back one block. First of all, I ain't got to move back no damn where. But second of all, that's not all you wanted them to do, because if that's all you wanted them to do, you would have pushed them back. You had enough military and police just to push them back and let them stand in the, you know, back further. You're not supposed to do that either because I can stand wherever I want. But even if you wanted to say, okay, can you let us get out the door? I get it. They came out barrels blazing, popping off those smoke bombs. And I think they were using rubber bullets and whatever else they were doing. They were using heavy police brutality, period.com, again, for nothing but peaceful protest. So you see how peaceful still don't count. There was no looting. There was no breaking of anything. There was no busting of anything. There was no, throwing Molotov cocktails and flaming up cars. There was none of that by even provocateurs. No one was doing it. And yet you still did that. So here's what it is. Don't call me to a rock fight. And then when I get there, you mad because I had a boulder and you had a pebble. You said it's a rock fight, right? Then this is my rock.
And another thing with hashtag bunker bitch is this idea.
You got problems, girl. You got problems.
I love that hashtag. You know, people call him orange man. That hashtag bunker bitch, I don't know. It resonates in my soul. But
problems.
Another thing in terms of what he is attempting to do is it is so, to me, Chinese-esque. But past the insurrection law, the 1807. Well, let me kind of back up before then.
Okay.
There were reports that he put, or all the governors, or majority of the governors, I don't know if everybody was on this phone call, and he was talking to them and saying, if you don't quell these demonstrations, then I'm going to have to do it for you. I thought that was very interesting because I said, isn't he part of the GOP? Isn't the GOP about states' rights and not federal government interceding into what states do? I thought that was really very interesting that he does that. But this idea of that he can on a drop of a dime just say something, and this guerrilla, army, these goons in camouflage will come and just like murk people without any consequences, just to me is just another thing to show how just mad this person is, this administration, and the people who allow him to do so. All his enablers and his handlers too. At that, I always must say that there are multiple people complicit in this. I wanted to roll also when you were talking about the ACLU, and they are definitely an organization that you do not want to mess with. They're also suing ACLU, and some journalists are also suing Minneapolis police for using excessive force against them and not allowing them to properly report as members of the press. In fact, arresting officers, arresting journalists, shooting at journalists, harassing and intimidating journalists. So there also is a lawsuit against the Minneapolis police. So the ACLU is very busy.
And what's so interesting is I think they're calling for, some people are calling for the police chief, the black guy. Let me get his name real quick. They're calling for his resignation, but it's a weird thing. We have to kind of figure out what's going on there. I don't know how long he's been there, but there are some Black leaders in the Black community who are actually in support of him, saying that, I guess they need to give him a chance to do his job, and they're not. I mean, I'm not for sure what the dirty details are, but That's also happening too. So I guess they're trying to drag him into it. The Minnesota police chief, Madaria Arradonda. He's might be Latino, Afro-Latino, but anyway. So that's coming down too. So like, I don't know, where the ball is bouncing at this point. It's down, that ball's down that hill now, and they just trying to take folks down. I think a lot of it is a diversion to say, okay, you're going to accuse me of this, I'm going to accuse you of that. It's going to be all this thing, and it's going to, they're in an attempt to muddy the waters. There's going to be so many lawsuits and factions fighting each other that they want to distract from the issues at hand, or the issue at hand, which is, the indictment of these police officers for like totally like in cold blood murdering a man on the street for all of us to see live on video. So where this is all going to land, I don't know.
So this is what I see. I see that what is happening in Minneapolis, there is kind of like a copycat. That's what's going on. So what's going on with with the NYPD, you're seeing it in Minneapolis, or should I say the reverse, and you're also seeing them in LA. There's gross abuses and stripping of First Amendment right for journalists to practice being press members. And so I think that will be even critical in press members continuously reporting what's going on, because if you remember the OJ case and the Rodney King case, we were glued to the TV watching what the reporters were saying in terms of what was going on with these with these trials when they were indicted, and thinking when the accused or the suspects went up in trial. But thinking of that, all four officers are now charged, and their indictment charges were elevated. Am I saying that correctly? That's the right term? So there's a couple of things happening there that's really great. So there's a man who there's a new sheriff in town. His name is Keith Ellison. He's the state attorney general who's actually prosecuting the case. So what he did was he did a couple of things that were great. So the initial charge before they brought him in to be the prosecutor on this situation was for the cop who's the actual I'm going to say pull the trigger with his knee, Derek Chauvin. He was charged initially with third-degree murder. So this new sheriff in town, Keith Ellison, who's the state attorney general, now got the charge, I guess you wanted to call up the charge, or whatever you want to call it, to be now second-degree murder for Chauvin. Then there were no charges brought against the other three guys. I don't know how to pronounce the names. Tau, T-A-U, Thomas, Lane, J. Alexander King, Q-U-E-N-G. These other three dudes, there were no charges, there was no arrest, there was no Roger, no rerun, no rent. Homie came up in there, Mr. Ellison, and not only got them, but they were fired, but not only got them arrested, he got them charged. And I think what he's getting them charged with, although we're still not happy about it, because that's why the protests are still going on as we speak, not as feverish, but still happening. They got charged with aiding and abetting for their participation in the crime. So I'm not for sure if he can do more than that for them based on the framework of the law. I'm not a lawyer, but that's, I guess, his best. People are still calling for to upgrade, I guess they call it, upgrade the charge for Chauvin to first degree. I did read some of the language about first degree, second degree, third degree. I'm gonna see if I can find that thing. Honestly, I would like that to happen too, but I don't think it's gonna stick. First degree is not gonna stick. Although I could see where people could make the argument for that, but it's not gonna stick. So if you guys wanna check past me, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just gonna go with the bullet point of the gist of what they are. So here's the language between the 3 degrees. So first degree murder must be, we all know, premeditated, meaning planned prior to the act. So in other words, can he make the case for proving that this guy Chauvin planned to murder him prior to the act? I don't know. Now there is talk sidebar about them knowing each other. Supposedly,
Chauvin and Floyd knew each other prior to this incident. They both worked at a bar in town where they both had at some point been security for the bar. Because you know, this George Floyd is he's a big guy. He played football, he's tall, he's a big guy. So I don't know if they just knew of each other because, hey, dude, how you doing? Or they knew each other well, broke bread, you know, chopped it up. I don't know. But they did, supposedly they knew each other. So that's what first degree murder is. The language is longer if you go online, but this is just the short of it. Second degree murder, I think, makes more sense. It's more apropos. Second degree murder is intention to murder the victim, but did not plan it prior to the act. So there was intention, because along the way for those 9 minutes as he had his knee in his neck, the man not only said he couldn't breathe, at some point he said, "You're killing me." And he even said, "Oh, you're a tough guy, huh? You're tough." He was taunting him also. And you literally saw the breath leave this man. And even when the ambulance came, his knee was still on his neck, even when the paramedics got there. As the paramedics would come, he still did it.
Well, you know, a police officer pointed out to me that he doesn't even believe that the ambulance were actually ambulance, that they were actually police officers that were called to cover up. Because he said, if you go back and look, because I'm going to be 100% transparent, I couldn't watch it. You know what I mean? I just saw little snippets of it. They said, but if you go and you see the EMS or the EMT person come, he has no medical equipment and he has a bulletproof vest on, and he doesn't have what a traditional EMS worker would have. And so he said, I believe that that was a cop and that was part of the cleanup crew because they knew that they had killed this man.
At this point, girl, anything's possible. I'm not like what they would call a conspiracy theorist where everything's a conspiracy, but oh, there are conspiracies and they're real. Could this be one of them? I wouldn't be shocked with the track record, with the poor track record of the Minnesota Police Department. Yeah, it's possible. Or they were in collusion with them when they knew that they know them all each other. They know fire department, police department, and the EMTs. They're all one big salad bowl of thing. So they could have said, listen, get your ass, it could have been the EMTs, get your asses over here with that riot gear. Don't try to help this fool. Don't try to help this nigger. Just get over here and act like you're trying to help them. So it could have been actually them, but they're in collusion with that. People do all kinds of stuff and put themselves in harm's way. I mean, look at the lawyers for Donald Trump. You mean you went to law school, passed the bar exam, and you paying hoes to give blowjobs to Donald Trump, and you in jail and you lost your license for Donald Trump? I mean, people do. I just have a 4-year degree. I'm working on my master's now, so I don't feel like having a master's is the same thing as having a Juris Doctorate degree and you pass the bar exam. That's some deep shit. So you literally gave all that up, and then maybe you found your boyfriend in jail too. I don't know what you're doing in jail. All for Donald Trump. So I find it very interesting how people will do lots of things for all kinds of reasons. That's shocking. Like EMTs giving up, saving a life to cover for a killer cop. Is that possible? Yeah, I think so. I find it outrageously sickening, but is it possible? Yeah, I think they were actually EMTs because the police department can't just grab a car, ambulance. But I do think that they knew the EMTs because remember, when you're a police officer, you see these same dudes all the time. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Okay, you got this on the job. They all know each other. The police department, the fire department, the cops come. They've seen each other lots of times. They know each other. So it's not like they don't have a relationship already. That's the point. But I do want to talk about the third degree, just in case you have some racist white folks saying, but why they do that? Where they do that at? Here's why he was able to upgrade, I'll say the phrase upgrade or the word upgrade to second degree, because third degree was weak as hell. Third degree murder is intentionally harming someone, but not expecting the victim to die, but they did. Well, you have to expect the man to die because you killed him. Because if you had no expectation of death, we saw 2 videos. They're finding other videos. So the first video that before he was on the ground, because how did he get on the ground? Because you had him in handcuffs before he was on the ground. So in one video, they took him out of the car, handcuffed him. Okay, put him in a police car and arrest him for this so-called $20 bill that was bootleg. Then how did it go from that to on the ground? That means you wanted to kill him, because there was no resisting arrest or any of that. Even when he was standing up and they had taken him out of the car, because remember, he was in the car after he left the store, which tells me he wasn't trying to run with no $20 bills worth of mess. He didn't even know he had a counterfeit $20 bill, because the owner said that was strange that he stayed in front of the store. If nobody's going to come in his store intentionally to spend a $20 bill that's counterfeit and then stay in front of the store, commit the crime and stay in front of the store. So the likelihood is, which happens to many of us, lots of us get counterfeit $20 bills because it's very common to get them, and we don't know till we use it. So his interpretation is the man didn't even know he had a $20 bill that was counterfeit, because he would have just pulled off in the car. He was in front of the store in the car. So you pulled up for you came in, you bold. Black people that bold, we ain't that bold since the uprisings of the slaves. So you gonna go in the store and purposely use a $20 bill and sit your bold black ass in the car and go, and I dare you. We're not even doing that. So the man didn't even know he had a counterfeit $20 bill.
And I just checked, it said there's estimated $70 million in counterfeit bills that are currently circulating in US currency.
Girl. Let me tell you about people not knowing their history, about how white people came to power and came to this financial windfall. Of course, on the backs of slaves, that's a given, in the legacy of that. But also along the way, I don't know dates, so y'all check on your own. Do you know how long people have been using counterfeit? Do you know that most of the things that have been purchased in this country came from counterfeit? Purdue chicken is one of them. You know, some of these people who, like, you know, the Kennedys and the Kennedys, how when they were making the bootleg liquor, the Kennedys got rich on bootleg liquor. They got rich on crime. Oh, y'all Camelot now, bitches, right? So, and the great granddaddy one that started they were doing with counterfeit, and people were buying houses with counterfeit. People were buying land with counterfeit way back in the day, and they still have it now. Their legacy's still there. So counterfeit is something that white people have been doing to enrich themselves for years, a long time ago, before we were printing money in mints and stuff. They were using counterfeits a long time. So, and I saw a very good special on A&E some years ago about how this counterfeit thing was beginning. I forgot, it was like in 1645. Don't give me with the dates. But this is an old thing. These are the old gangsters. So the legacy of people's families who got rich on buying land and starting businesses with counterfeit money, these kids and these families are still benefiting from that. They're still benefiting from that today. Still today.
Right. And then there's I think it's called the Uncivil Podcast, but there was this whole podcast about how a printmaker in the North began to make fake bills in the Confederacy, and would make them for people living in the North who would travel down South. And that's actually one of the major things that broke the South, were all of the counterfeit bills that were flooding down there, because the South, you know, financially had everything on lock. But I also want to mention that Keith Ellison in particular, this is where I think Roland Martin's, he's been speaking this for, since his Roland Martin Unfiltered has been on. He says, we need to vote in people that will then put judges and people who make you know, critical decisions about the everyday. Keith Ellison was actually the first elected Muslim into Congress.
Oh, he's Muslim. Okay, I didn't know.
Yes, he's Muslim, and he won in 2018. He won, but he also won the Attorney General seat for Minnesota. So he gave up his congressional seat in order to serve as Attorney General. This is where there is a huge win. And so I don't know what all his full reasonings were, but this was a great strategy.
Well, I actually, girl, I be doing my research, so don't play with me, girl. Okay. I saw him on whose show? I didn't see too many damn shows. Oh, I saw him on Karen Hunter's show, her radio show. And I'm going to give you the gist, of course. So he basically talked about why he made that pivot from there to there. And he said, actually, you can get more done. When you are working as a congressperson, you have to get all 200 and something people to get on a bill with you and support the bill. And it slows everything down. You don't get everybody to get on the bill and support the bill. Like, it's not as simple as I have a bill, let's sign the bill. So you have to get everyone to be under a one note situation. He said, and it slows things down. It's hard. He said, things happen, but that's why lots of things don't get done in Congress, because it's totally incumbent upon other people supporting bills and helping you write bills, and it has to be nonpartisan. But the Republicans don't want this. He said, and sometimes the Democrats don't want stuff. He said, sometimes the Democrats, they'll have a bill and the Democrats want to water the bill down to satisfy the people. It's just hard. He said, but in this case, he can sue. He said, in his position, he can sue cities, he can sue, municipalities, he can put people in jail, he can do all that in this position he's in. I was like, oh damn, I didn't know the depth of the job, but I look it up, y'all. I found out a lot. So he's got a lot of power. The passion and the certainty and the confidence that he had in this press conference when he announced, it was Wednesday's press conference.
The Attorney General for the state of Minnesota, and it is with a large degree of humility and a great seriousness that I accept for my office the responsibility for leadership on this critical case involving the killing of George Floyd. I want to thank my good friend of many years, Mike Freeman, for the hard work he's done. We expect to work together. There is a lot of resources, talent, and ability in his office on cases like this. And I just want to let everyone know that we are going to bring to bear all the resources necessary to achieve justice in this case. And that means that we won't leave any resources on the sideline as we pursue justice.
He talked about, he was upgrading the charge from third degree to second degree murder for Derek Chauvin, and the other three guys were getting charged, indicted for, the assistance of the murder. And so when he was talking, he was really passionate. He seemed confident. But what I liked about him, he did not mince words. He said, listen, I'm not saying we don't have a good case, but he said, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult to win this. He said, because in Minnesota, there's only been one time where somebody has been successful. They got a successful conviction against a police officer for something. I forgot who he said and what year it was, but he broke it down. Go look at the video for yourselves. He said, but I'm going to do my best and try hard to get it done. Oh, I'm going to do my best. So I think he didn't want to give people false hope, because to talk, I don't like these, politicians, and I'm going to do this and that, and I'm going to do that, and you better know, and they love to point, and I'm a politician, and damn well you can't get nothing done. Or if you can get something done, it's a little of something and you didn't get most of it done. And that doesn't in any way say you didn't attempt to get stuff done, but it's not going to land on done. So he's letting you know, I'm making these steps, and I'm just doing it one step at a time, but I'm not going to sit there and give you this whole big old, fake reality show. So it's a really great press conference.
New York City, there's been over 2,000 arrests made from demonstrations or rallies. Mm-hmm. And in Los Angeles, over 3,700. While in jail, people are reporting that they are crowded into these jails, and they think that there is an intention to spread coronavirus.
Of course.
Howsoever, with all of that, the people who are coming to the rallies and the protests is increasing. Why do you think that is so?
Well, let's start with the first thing. I find it very odd that when the Ronas jumped off in the way it jumped off, all the lawmakers and the muckety politicians, said, across the states, I don't know if all states jumped on, but most states jumped on, to just kind of decide, let out the low-level criminals who had low-level crimes or who was already getting ready to be, released anyway, near their release dates. They said, just let them all out because they could not handle, the numbers, because they didn't know about social distancing initially. This coronavirus was like fast and furious, so they were letting these people out. So it's very odd that you made this, I guess, moratorium, if you want to call it, or whatever, that let them out. But now you're arresting people to put more people back in. And then at that rate that you're putting them in jail, that you're going to for sure spread coronavirus. And this is a crime big enough to cause more of a health crisis. They were protesters. Okay, that's the first odd part. What was the next part of that? I want to address that next part.
Right. And then also remember, people were getting arrested for coughing on people during when the coronavirus was kicked up. I thought that was
People were
interesting,
getting
right?
arrested for walking down the street and not social distancing, not people, black people. Dragged the black lady at the train station. She was walking, she was not near anybody. She's walking in the train station. I guess she couldn't breathe and she had her mask under here. They dragged her and accosted and harassed. They didn't arrest her, but they roughed her up for that. And you're gonna sit there and put them in jail for this?
Even with all that being said, more and more people are attending these protests and demonstrations. Why do you think so?
Yeah, so here's the thing. They did say, however, everybody stay in the house except essential workers. Because there's certain essential things that we still need. So we have to the people who serve food and the police officers and the firefighters and people that deliver food. So guess what they said? If it's essential, then, by all means, do what you have to do, but be safe. So I think this is essential. It's essential to protect yourself. It's essential to retaliate against somebody trying to kill you. It's essential to make sure you fight when a war has been waged against you. It's essential. We're not out there like those white people who at the Capitol asking to go to a barbershop or go to a tattoo parlor or to get their nails done, or they want to go to the movie theater and they have guns asking for that. We're out there fighting to make sure you don't murder more of us. We're fighting for our lives. Literally. Oh, that's essential. So that's why people are out there risking their lives to save other lives. They always said, if you are not willing to die for what you believe in, then that's a problem. So I'm assuming that all of those folks out there are willing to die for what they believe in because they're tired of people killing people who are supposed to protect our lives are taking our lives. So that's what that is. So we're gonna get some Ronas. We're gonna get a whole bunch more Ronas, and y'all just give them some hydrochloroquine or some Z-Pack or whatever y'all using to treat it, or some Pepsid or whatever's going on in the Rona treatment these days.
Or some brown liquor. Yeah,
Oh,
or a cigar.
call my father. He'll tell you what to do.
Oh, Lisa, this has been a really great check-in. I look forward to next week to catch up on the Lisa weekly check-in with Lisa Durden.
So just wanted to make sure before I go, because I think that the Black media is important, or independent media in general is important. So, I've been trying to do a podcast, girl, but now since we have the Zoom, it's a little easier to get folks to join into the podcast. So I just wanted to know what I could do to help, because I'm not one to be, in these streets marching. So I decided to do a podcast, to develop a podcast called Stop Brutalizing Black Bodies Podcast. So the reason why I said, so I'm promoting it as we leave. So please watch it. I'm going to drop it each week, either Monday or Tuesday. So instead of me saying stop killing Black people, I said, I'm going to call it Stop Brutalizing Black Bodies. Because when you brutalize Black bodies, it's not just killing us. It's food deserts, it's environmental, it's our education, it's how you treat us in healthcare. It's many. This podcast can go on forever. It's going to be evergreen because there's many ways you're killing us. Trauma, poverty, all kinds of things. So I'll be covering all these kinds of topics right now. Since this is a little bit heated, we'll do a bit more about this case and where it goes. We're going to be talking about other cases. We're going to be talking about the prison reform, environmental racism, food deserts, white supremacy, food insecurity, places like Tulsa. Speaking of violence, Rosewood. We're going to just have all these topics that in some kind of way, directly or indirectly, brutalize black bodies.
So I look forward to that. I appreciate you checking in and giving us your knowledge, wisdom, and fire.
Thank you.
I'll be seeing you next week. Stay tuned for the Stop Brutalizing Black Bodies podcast and weekly check-in with Lisa Durden.
Bye.